The Council's arrogance. The Galactic Council chamber was the largest hall in the known galaxy. Its walls stretched high, made of glowing crystal, and its floor reflected the light of 1,000 stars. Leaders of dozens of empires sat on their tall thrones, their bodies glittering with jewels, their armor polished to shine. Each throne was raised higher than the last, as if to prove who thought themselves greater. On this day, their voices echoed, with laughter. The humans? One alien lord sneered, his fangs flashing. They are a small species, fragile. Their bones snap like twigs. Their minds are young. They are fit to serve, not to stand. Another leaned forward, his long claws clicking against the throne. We give them technology, trade routes, a seat in this council. And how do they repay us? With pride. They speak of equality as though they are our kin. It is insulting. More. Laughter followed, cold and sharp. The sound filled the chamber like a storm of knives. At the center of the hall stood Earth's delegation, 3 humans, an older ambassador with silver hair, a young officer with steady eyes, and a diplomat, whose hand shook as she held a tablet. Compared to the towering aliens, they looked small, almost fragile. The Speaker of the Council, a creature of crystal and fire, raised his arms. His 4 glowing eyes burned down at the humans. Humanity, he said, his voice booming through the hall. You were given mercy. You were given a seat among us. And yet you act as though you are equals. Tell me, do you not understand your place? The alien lords roared in agreement. Some slammed their claws against the floor. Others hissed in mockery. The ambassador remained calm. He lifted his eyes slowly, meeting the speaker's burning gaze without flinching. We understand our place, he said quietly. But perhaps it is not the place you think. The speaker tilted his head, his body glowing brighter. And what place do you believe you deserve? The ambassador's voice sharpened, still calm but cutting. The same as any who bleed, who think, who fight, not beneath you, beside you. The chamber erupted in laughter. The sound was cruel, echoing from wall to wall. Some aliens jeered, others shouted insults. Beside us, you crawl in the dirt. You dare call yourself our equal? The young officer clenched his fists but stayed silent. The diplomat's face turned pale. The ambassador, however, remained still, his calm gaze never breaking. The speaker slammed his crystal hand against the throne. The floor cracked beneath his blow. You are not our equal. You are tolerated because we allow it. If you ever defy us, if you ever resist, know this. Our fleets will burn your skies, our soldiers will trample your cities, and your species will learn what happens to those who forget their place. The words fell heavy across the chamber. Silence followed, broken only by the hum of the crystal walls. The humans stood there, small figures surrounded by giants. Every alien eye watched, expecting them to tremble, to kneel, to beg. But the ambassador took one step forward. His voice was low, but it carried, calm and steady, through the silence. If war is what you want, then war is what you'll get. The chamber froze. No one laughed. No one jeered. Even the speaker's glowing eyes flickered with shock. The silence stretched long and deep, as though the galaxy itself had stopped to listen. The young officer felt his heart pound, but also something else, pride. For the first time, their voices did not sound small. The diplomat lowered her tablet, her hands no longer shaking. The alien lord stared in disbelief. One hissed, "You cannot be serious. Humans cannot fight us." Another growled, "They are weak. They are nothing." But beneath their words was something they could not hide. Fear. The ambassador turned without another word. The humans walked calmly out of the chamber, leaving the council in silence. When the great doors closed behind them, the chamber erupted in chaos. "They dare threaten us. They will regret this. Send fleets immediately." Yet through the noise, one elder spoke softly, almost to himself. His words were drowned by the shouting, but those who heard them never forgot. "They don't speak like the weak," he whispered. They speak like those who have already chosen to fight. And far away on Earth, factories hummed, fleets stirred, and soldiers sharpened their blades. The galaxy had laughed at humans for the last time. Ripples of fear, the council chamber remained in uproar long after the humans left. The echo of the ambassador's words hung in the air like a shadow. If war is what you want, then war is what you'll get. The speaker slammed his crystal hand on the table again and again. Arrogance. Madness. They dare threaten us. His glowing eyes burned with fury, but even he could not hide the flicker of unease. For centuries, no species had ever spoken to the council in that tone. Every world that resisted had begged for mercy after their fleets were destroyed. But the humans had not begged. They had promised battle. The other counselors argued, voices sharp and desperate. Crush them before they prepare. Wait, what if they have more than we think? Impossible. They are nothing but primitives. Yet the hall was divided. Some shouted for war, others for caution. The arrogance of the council was still there, but now it was cracked. Outside the chamber, the story spread like fire. On the trade stations orbiting distant stars, smugglers repeated the tale. Did you hear? The humans looked the speaker in the eye and declared war. Laughter followed, but it was uneasy laughter, the kind that hides fear. On slave worlds, whispers crawled through the minds. The council threatened them and they did not bow. Chains felt lighter, if only for a moment. On border colonies, children repeated the words in their games. If war is what you want, one child shouted proudly, then war is what you'll get. And the others cheered as though the humans had already won. The ripples grew stronger when the first council fleet was ordered toward Earth. Hundreds of warships left their docks, engines blazing. From orbiting cities, citizens watched them depart, believing the humans would be erased in days. But not all shared that belief. In the shadows of a barracks, two soldiers whispered, "They should not have said that. The council will crush them." "Perhaps," the other replied, his voice uneasy. "But tell me, why didn't they tremble? Why didn't they beg?" Neither had an answer. On Earth, the message from the council spread across every screen. The threat was clear: submit or burn. But the people did not bow. Crowds filled the streets, holding banners with one word painted in bold letters: fight. In underground bunkers, generals studied holograms of the incoming fleet. "They are coming with everything they have," one said grimly. "Good," the ambassador replied. His voice was calm, almost too calm. "Then the galaxy will see everything we have prepared." Factories roared, hidden shipyards opened, and fleets long kept in silence began to rise. Humanity had waited for this moment, building in shadows, preparing for the day when arrogance would come knocking. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, unease grew. The council's arrogance had always been law, but now cracks appeared. Some worlds questioned if the council was truly invincible. Others whispered of joining Earth, though quietly, too afraid to say it aloud. In a distant garrison, Liara, a warrior officer, listened to her comrades. They mocked the humans, called them foolish, but Liara stayed silent. She had seen the reports of the Threk's defeat long ago, the whispers about the Korath Legion. She remembered what veterans had warned: never underestimate humans. When she was alone, she whispered the human words under her breath. If war is what you want, then war is what you'll get. They sounded less like arrogance and more like a promise. Back in the council chamber, the speaker gathered his generals. His voice was harsh, but his eyes betrayed caution. Destroy them quickly. Leave no survivors. The galaxy must see our strength. But deep inside, even the speaker knew something had shifted. Because no matter how loud the council shouted, the galaxy had already heard the human voice. And the ripples of fear had begun. Earth awakens on Earth. The sky glowed with alien warnings. Every broadcast carried the council's threat: submit or burn. Their fleets were already on the way, engines bright, weapons armed. But humanity did not bow. Across the world, people gathered in streets, not in fear, but in determination. Some carried signs painted with a single word: fight. Others stood in silence, their eyes burning with pride. Every citizen knew the choice had been made. Deep beneath the surface, in bunkers hidden from alien eyes, Earth's leaders met. Holographic maps filled the air, glowing with red dots that marked the approaching council fleet. Generals studied them with steady eyes. "They come with everything they have," one officer said grimly. The ambassador, the same man who had faced the council, stood at the head of the table. His silver hair glowed faintly under the lights. His voice was calm but sharp. "Then we will show them everything we've built." For years, Earth had smiled politely at the council while working in silence. Every treaty signed, every trade accepted. Behind it all, preparations had continued. Factories hidden in mountains, shipyards carved into asteroids, weapons tested in the cold shadows of the solar system. Now, those secrets woke. In orbit around the moon, black warships uncloaked. Their railguns hummed with power, long barrels gleaming under the light of the sun. On Mars, bases that looked like mines revealed hidden launch bays, releasing wings of drones into the void. From Jupiter's orbit, massive carriers drifted free of their shelters, their hulls lined with missiles and stealth cannons. Humanity had been underestimated. That was their greatest weapon. Daniel, the young officer who had stood in the council chamber, now walked the hangars of the Sol fleet. Sparks flew, engines roared, crews shouted commands. The air smelled of oil, smoke, and metal. Everywhere he looked, people worked with focus and fire. He stopped before a black ship being fueled, its name painted boldly across its side: Defiance. His chest tightened. He whispered to himself, "Fitting." Soldiers, lined up in the training grounds, their boots striking the floor in rhythm. Their voices carried, not songs of conquest, but promises. They would not kneel, they would not break. Civilians drilled in shelters, preparing for the worst but refusing to live in fear. The Council's fleets had numbers, but Earth had something more dangerous: unity. In orbit, the ambassador's voice carried across the fleet, calm and steady. "Remember who you fight for, not just Earth, not just yourselves, but for every world watching, every voice silenced, every people who ever wanted to say no. The galaxy is listening. Show them what humans are." His words echoed through the ships, through the bunkers, through the hearts of millions. Liara, far away in a council outpost, received fragments of these transmissions. Her comrades dismissed them as arrogance, but she felt her stomach twist. There was no fear in those human voices, only certainty. Night fell across Earth, but the factories roared louder, the skies above filled with trails of ships leaving the atmosphere. The stars were dotted with human steel, moving into position. In the quiet of his quarters, Daniel wrote a single line in his log: "They expect prey. They will find predators." Back in the council chamber, the speaker listened to reports of human fleets forming. His crystal body flickered uneasily. He tried to sound certain as he addressed the other rulers. "They cannot match us. They cannot win." But deep down, he remembered the human ambassador's calm eyes. Eyes that did not belong to prey. And, far away as the fleets drew closer to Earth, the void grew heavy with silence. The kind of silence that comes before a storm. Earth had awakened. The first clash. The void outside Jupiter grew restless. The council fleet entered the Sol system like a wall of fire, engines burning bright, their massive dreadnoughts blotting out the stars. Their commanders expected an easy hunt. "This will be quick," one captain sneered, his four jaws curling into a grin. "By this cycle's end, Earth will kneel." The order came: "Advance." On the bridge of the Defiance, Daniel stood behind his captain, eyes locked on the glowing red dots that filled the radar. The alien ships looked endless. His chest tightened, but his hands didn't shake. The captain's voice was steady. "Transmit our answer." The comms officer tapped the controls. Across every channel, one word flashed: "Ready." The battle began. From behind Jupiter's shadow, black human warships powered up. Railguns thundered, firing tungsten rods that screamed across the void at impossible speed. The first alien cruiser shuddered. Its shield cracked, then shattered like glass. The second shot tore its hull apart, sending fire into the dark dot. The council commanders gasped. Impossible! Their weapons pierce our shields! Missiles launched from hidden silos on the asteroid belt, swarms of fire streaking across the black, drones uncloaked, darting between massive ships like hornets, striking engines and weapon banks before vanishing again. The council fleet roared in anger, returning fire. Beams of plasma lit the void, cutting through space. One human frigate was caught, split apart in a blaze. The Defiance shook as shockwaves rippled through its shields. Daniel gritted his teeth. His voice was hoarse but fierce. We can't match their numbers. The captain nodded sharply. Then we don't fight their numbers. We fight their pride. The plan unfolded. Human ships darted between asteroids, weaving through debris fields. The council vessels were too large to enter. Every asteroid became a shield, every shadow a weapon. The council ships fired blindly, wasting energy, while human railguns struck again and again with precision. A destroyer named Valor dived beneath, a battleship, planting charges along its hull before veering away. Seconds later, the battleship split into two burning halves, its wreckage drifting into the belt. The council's confidence cracked. Commanders shouted in panic. They fight like shadows. They strike and vanish. On the bridge of the Defiance, alarms blared. Another wave of plasma fire grazed the hull. Sparks flew. Daniel grabbed onto the railing, his breath caught, but the captain's calm voice cut through the chaos. Hold. They are bleeding faster than we are. Then came the dreadnought. It moved forward like a floating fortress, larger than a city, its cannons glowing brighter than stars. It fired once, and an entire line of human ships vanished in the blast. The void shook with fire. Daniel's stomach twisted. How do we fight that? The captain's eyes narrowed. We don't fight it head-on. We make it chase us. Signals flashed through the fleet. Phase 2. Human ships pulled back into the asteroid belt. The dreadnought pursued, its massive bulk grinding through the debris, its cannons charged for another strike. And then the trap was sprung. Hidden mines across the belt lit up, detonating in a chain of fire. Explosions rippled across the dreadnought's shields, cracking them like glass. Its engines flickered. Now! The captain shouted. Every railgun, every missile, every drone turned as one. A storm of fire tore into the dreadnought. The Defiance fired the final shot, a tungsten rod that slammed into its core. The dreadnought split apart in silence, its pieces drifting into the void like burning meteors. For the first time in centuries, a council dreadnought had fallen. The humans didn't cheer, they didn't finish the survivors. Instead, the captain gave the order. Leave them, let them crawl back. Let them tell the galaxy what happened here. Daniel's chest heaved as the fleet pulled away, vanishing back into the dark. He whispered to himself, half in disbelief, half in pride. We actually did it. But the captain's voice reminded him, and everyone else, that this was only the beginning. No, this was just the first clash. The galaxy reacts. The survivors of the battle limped back through the void, their ships torn and burning. Out of the hundreds who had gone to crush Earth, barely a fraction returned. Their shields were shattered, their hulls cracked open, their pride left behind in the asteroid belt. When they reached the nearest council dock, the station fell into silence. Crowds gathered, staring at the wrecked warships. Soldiers whispered, "Who did this?" The answer came quickly, spreading like fire. Humans. Inside the council chamber, the speaker's body burned brighter than ever, his rage filling the hall. "A dreadnought," he roared. "Do you understand what this means? No one has ever destroyed one of our dreadnoughts. And these humans," the chamber shook with shouts. "Impossible. They tricked us with shadows. They cannot face us again." But beneath the fury was fear. Every alien leader had seen the reports. Railguns had torn through shields thought unbreakable. Small human ships had danced around giants, turning the battlefield into a trap. The dreadnought, pride of the council, had died in fire. Across the galaxy, the story spread faster than the council could control. On slave worlds, Miners passed the tale from one tunnel to another. The humans fought the council and won. Chains felt lighter that day. On trade stations, smugglers raised their glasses. A dreadnought fell, they said with grins. The galaxy has changed. On distant colonies, children painted words. Across the walls, defiance, freedom. Humans. The council tried to silence the whispers. Official broadcasts claimed it was only luck, that the dreadnought's systems had failed. But no one believed them. Survivors had already spoken. Their voices carried more truth than any propaganda. Among the council soldiers, a quiet saying began to spread. Never fight humans in the dark. In one barracks, a young recruit asked nervously, "Is it true? Did they really stand against our fleets?" His sergeant's eyes were hard. "Yes. And remember this. They didn't just stand. They hunted us." Meanwhile, on Earth, pride surged like fire. The people filled the streets, waving banners with one word: victory. Factories roared louder, fleets grew stronger. Humanity did not relax. They knew this was only the first battle. The council would return. But now, for the first time, the HFY galaxy believed they could fight. In the command bunker, Daniel stood before the screens showing intercepted transmissions from across the stars. His chest swelled with pride as he read them. "Listen to this," he said. "On the slave world of Corinne, the people whisper that humans fight for them too." The ambassador nodded slowly, his voice calm as always. "This is bigger than us now. We did not only win a battle, we gave the galaxy something it has not felt in centuries." Daniel frowned. "What's that?" The ambassador's eyes gleamed. "Hope." Liara, far away on her outpost, heard the whispers too. Her comrades laughed nervously, mocking the humans even as their eyes betrayed fear. But Liara remembered the calm face of the ambassador in the council chamber, the way he had spoken without trembling. She thought of the dreadnought burning in silence, and for the first time, she felt a strange thought. Maybe they cannot be stopped. Back in the council chamber, the speaker tried to restore control. His crystal hand slammed the throne. "We will not allow this myth to spread. Prepare every fleet, gather every soldier. The humans will be crushed once and for all." But deep inside, even he knew the truth. The myth had already spread. The galaxy had seen the impossible. And once a story begins, it cannot be buried. The word was everywhere now, whispered in shadows, shouted in markets, painted on walls. A single truth that shook the foundations of the council's power. Humans are going to battle, and they can win. The final invasion. The council had never gathered such a fleet before. From every empire, every dock, every shipyard, warships poured into the void. Dreadnoughts the size of cities, carriers filled with swarms of fighters, cruisers armed with weapons bright as suns. All formed a wall of steel and fire. In the council chamber, the speaker raised his burning arms. "This time there will be no mistake. This time, Earth will burn until nothing remains. The galaxy will see that defiance leads only to ash." The order spread like thunder. The largest invasion fleet in history turned toward the Sol system. From Earth, human satellites picked up the movement. Screens and bunkers flickered red with endless streams of enemy signals. The young officer Daniel felt his chest tighten as he looked at the map. The enemy fleet stretched across the stars like a storm without end. "They've brought everything," he whispered. The ambassador stood calm as ever. "Good," he said quietly. "Then the galaxy will see everything we are." On Earth there was no fear. There was preparation. Factories thundered day and night, turning out weapons faster than ever. Orbital cannons were primed, their barrels glowing in the upper atmosphere. Civilian ships were stripped and armed. Even asteroid miners joined, loading drills with explosives to hurl into the void. The fleet of Earth rose once more. Black ships with names painted bold across their hulls. Defiance, valor, freedom. And hidden beyond the planets, in the cold shadows, mines waited silently. Thousands of them drifting like dust, ready to turn space into fire. As the Council Armada entered the system, its commanders sneered. Look at them. Small ships, scattered defenses. They think they can stand against us? The dreadnoughts moved forward, their cannons glowing with power. From orbit above Earth, the people watched the sky fill with the light of enemy engines. It was as if a second sun had risen, one made of fire and death. In the command bunker, alarms blared. Daniel gripped the rail, his knuckles white. They'll hit the planet in minutes. The ambassador's voice cut through the panic, calm, steady. Then let them come. Activate the line. And with that order, the traps woke. The asteroid belt lit up first. Explosives hidden in rocks for years detonated, tearing through the first wave of Council cruisers. Mines hidden in silence drifted forward, latching onto engines and ripping them apart. Human warships darted in and out of the chaos, smaller and faster than their massive foes. Railguns fired, tungsten rods smashing into dreadnought shields again and again. The Council fought back, their weapons blazing, their beams cutting through the black. Human ships burned, but even as they fell, more surged forward. On the bridge of the Defiance, Daniel stood tall beside his captain. The ship shook, alarms screamed, but his voice was fierce. We hold. Not one step back. The captain's voice was steel. Not one step. From the shadows of Saturn, human carriers launched swarms of drones. They streaked into the Council fleet, overwhelming fighters, striking weak points with ruthless precision. Still, the Council pressed on. Their numbers were overwhelming. Slowly, painfully, they pushed closer to Earth. And then the dreadnought appeared. The largest of them all, its core glowing like a star, its weapon capable of splitting continents. It moved into orbit, preparing to fire. The ground shook on Earth as its energy built. Civilians held their breath, children clutching their parents, soldiers gripping their rifles. In the bunker, Daniel's voice cracked. If that thing fires... The ambassador raised his hand, his voice calm. It won't. He gave the signal. Every hidden cannon on Earth, every orbital gun, every ship that still stood turned as one. A storm of tungsten and missiles screamed into the void. The dreadnought's shields flickered, cracked, shattered. One final railgun shot from the Defiance pierced its core. For a heartbeat, silence. Then the dreadnought exploded, its fire lighting. The sky brighter than the sun. The people of Earth roared in defiance. In the Council fleet, silence fell. Commanders hesitated, eyes wide with disbelief. The unthinkable had happened again. And humanity still stood. Bloodied, battered, but unbroken. The final invasion had begun, and the galaxy was watching. Shock and revelation. The void was filled with silence. Where once the Council's greatest armada had burned bright, now only broken wreckage drifted. Dreadnoughts cracked open, carriers split in half, cruisers burning quietly as they tumbled through the black. On the bridge of the Defiance, Daniel leaned against the railing, chest heaving. His uniform was torn, his hands blackened with smoke. Around him, the crew sat slumped in exhaustion, yet their eyes glowed with something no enemy could kill: pride. We held, Daniel whispered, his voice hoarse but steady. We actually held. The captain stood tall, blood on his face but fire in his eyes. No, Lieutenant. We did more than hold. We broke them. Across Earth, the people filled the streets. Screens showed the burning wrecks of the Council fleet. Cheers thundered, voices rising into the night sky. Children waved banners with one word painted bold: defiance. Civilians embraced soldiers as they returned, battered but alive. The message spread faster than light. On mining worlds, slaves threw down their tools, shouting, "If humans can fight, so can we." On border colonies, governors whispered of rebellion. On merchant stations, traders raised their glasses to the blue planet that had stood against giants. In the Council chamber, silence reigned. The speaker's crystal body dimmed, his burning eyes flickering with disbelief. Never in history had the Council faced such humiliation. Never had an enemy not only survived but won. One elder broke the silence. What now? Do we send another fleet? but another shook his head slowly. No. We send another fleet. And we lose another fleet. The galaxy has already seen too much. The humans have changed everything. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some demanded revenge, others whispered of treaties. But beneath the noise, the truth was clear. The Council's age of unquestioned power was ending. Meanwhile, Earth prepared its message. In the command bunker, the ambassador stood before the cameras. His silver hair was scorched, his uniform torn, but his posture was unbroken. Billions across the galaxy tuned in, rebels, rulers, slaves, and soldiers alike. His voice was calm, steady, carrying across the stars. We did not want this war, but when you threatened us, we answered. You thought we would kneel. You thought we would break. But we are still here, and we will not bow. Not today, not ever. He leaned forward, his eyes sharp as steel. To every world watching, remember this. We are human. We do not fight for conquest. We fight because we refuse chains, and we fight for anyone who dares to stand. The message cut across the galaxy like a blade. On dozens of worlds, crowds rose, in defiance. The word spread louder than ever before. Humans. Liara, sitting in her barracks far away, watched the broadcast in silence. She remembered the ambassador's voice in the council chamber, the first time he had spoken of war. Now she heard it again, stronger than ever. A strange fire stirred in her chest. For the first time in her life, she believed the council could fall. Back on the Defiance. Daniel stood at the viewport, watching the wreckage drift. His voice was soft, but the weight of it carried. All this, he said, because we refused to bow. The captain placed a hand on his shoulder. And because we showed them the truth. Daniel turned. What truth? The captain's eyes gleamed. That the galaxy doesn't fear us because we're strong. They fear us because we don't stop. Outside, the stars stretched endless, filled with both danger and promise. Humanity had fought its first great war, and won. And now, every empire, every world, every child in the galaxy knew the same truth. The council had demanded obedience. Humanity had given their answer. And the answer had shocked the galaxy.